After seeing my wife and kids off, I started thoroughly cleaning the house. But when I was cleaning the old stuff on the upper storage shelf, I discovered where my wife hid her secrets. And the biggest shock was still waiting for me. But soon I would uncover those secrets. If you're watching this, comment now and tell me where you're watching from, because what I found in that box changed everything. And I need you here to witness the truth. There are mornings that feel like every other morning. You don't know it's the last time your world will feel whole. That Saturday in July, I stood at the kitchen island in our home on Arbor Creek Drive, flipping pancakes while Diane packed her overnight bag upstairs. The house smelled like maple syrup and coffee, the kind of morning that 14 years of marriage had made routine. Comfortable, safe. Harper came down first, earbuds and scrolling through her phone. 16 years old and already fluent in teenage indifference. She barely glanced at the stack of pancakes I slid onto her plate. "Morning, sweetheart." I said, morning, flat, distant. I told myself it was normal. Diane always said Harper was just finding herself pulling away the way kids do at that age. I didn't push. Tyler thundered down the stairs next to Duke Blue Devil's camp duffel slung over one shoulder. 11 years old and all energy. "Dad, did you pack my glove?" "In the side pocket," I said, ruffling his hair. "You're going to crush it at camp, buddy." Diane appeared in the doorway looking polished and perfect in white jeans and a linen blouse. She crossed the kitchen and kissed my cheek, her perfume filling the air between us. "You're the best husband," she said, squeezing my hand. "Thank you for holding down the fort this weekend." "Just bring me back something good from Atlanta," I joked. She laughed. Harper didn't. We walked out to the driveway together. Diane's BMW was already packed. Harper climbed into the passenger seat without a word, her face unreadable behind oversized sunglasses. I leaned into the window. "Have fun, Harp." She didn't smile. Didn't even look at me. "Yeah, sure." Something cold flickered in my chest, but I pushed it down. I waved as they backed out of the driveway, then turned to Tyler, who was waiting by my truck. Camp drop-off took an hour. By the time I got back home, the house was silent, empty in a way that should have felt peaceful, but didn't. I needed to move, do something. The garage had been on my to-do list for months. I rolled up my sleeves and got to work clearing boxes stacked in the corner. Old furniture Diane kept saying we'd donate, but never did. It was behind a stack of Tyler's outgrown sports equipment that I found it. A metal storage box, dusty and dented, shoved so far back I almost missed it. No label on the lid, but on the side, barely visible, was a sticker. Jennings, Concord, NC 2009. Jennings. I didn't know anyone named Jennings. The box was locked. I grabbed a screwdriver from my toolbench and pried it open. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Diane younger, maybe in her mid-20s, standing beside a man I didn't recognize. Smiling, holding a baby, kissing him in front of a small house I'd never seen. My hand started shaking. Beneath the photos were documents, official ones, a marriage certificate. Diane Sinclair and Paul Jennings, June 14, 2006. A birth certificate. Caleb James Jennings, born March 15, 2002. Mother Diane Sinclair Jennings, a divorce decree, finalized March 2010. I sat down hard on the concrete floor, the papers scattered around me. My vision blurred, my chest felt like it was caving in. Diane had been married before. She had a son. A whole life she'd never told me about. We started dating in late 2010, got married in 2012. Harper was born a year later, Tyler 3 years after that. She'd erased them. Paul, Caleb, her entire past, and I'd never known. I stared at the birth certificate in my hand at the date March 2002, and did the math. Caleb would be 23 now, an adult, out there somewhere, and Diane had buried him like he never existed. I'd believed every word she ever told me. You can't unsee the truth once it's in front of you. I sat frozen on the garage floor, my hands still gripping the divorce decree. The concrete was cold beneath me, but I couldn't feel it. Couldn't feel anything except the roar of static in my head. The decree was dated March 2010. Irreconcilable differences, standard language, clinical, and cold. But beneath it was another document, a child support order. Diane was supposed to pay Paul $850 a month for Caleb. $850. I flipped to the back pages. Payment history. She'd paid for 6 months after the divorce, then stopped. Just stopped. There were arrears listed $20,400. She'd abandoned her son financially, legally, completely. My stomach turned. I reached back into the box, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped the stack of letters tied with a rubber band. They were from Paul, dated 2009 and 2010. His handwriting was neat, controlled, but I could feel the desperation bleeding through the ink. Diane, please don't do this. Caleb needs his mother. We can work this out. You're throwing away 7 years. For what? For money. You've made your choice. Caleb will ask why his mother left. What will you tell him? The last letter was dated April 2010, a month after the divorce was finalized. After that, nothing. I set the letters down and pulled out a small leather journal. Diane's handwriting. I recognized it immediately. The same looping script she used to write grocery lists and birthday cards. But this wasn't a grocery list. Bradley Pierce is a hospital administrator. He has money. This is my chance. Paul is a good man, but he'll never give me the life I deserve. I need to hide all evidence before I start dating Bradley. A clean slate, no baggage. The entries were dated late 2009, months before we met. She'd targeted me, planned it, calculated it, erased Paul and Caleb like they were mistakes she could bury in a storage box and forget. My vision blurred. I couldn't breathe. At the bottom of the box was a burner phone. Cheap prepaid, the kind you see in movies. I powered it on my hands, trembling. The text thread with someone labeled T was still there. Harper's on my side. She knows what's at stake. Bradley suspects nothing. Pathetic. When this is over, we'll have everything. The timestamp was from 3 days ago. Harper, my daughter. My 16-year-old daughter was helping her. I stumbled out of the garage. Barely made it to the grass before I doubled over and vomited. My whole body shook. My chest felt like it was splitting open. 14 years. 14 years of marriage, of trust, of building a life together. All of it was a lie. I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand and pulled out my phone. My fingers fumbled over the screen, typing with a desperation I didn't recognize. Paul Jennings, Concord, NC. The search result loaded. A single listing, an electrician, a phone number. I stared at it, my thumb hovering over the call button. What would I even say? Your ex-wife destroyed my life, too. I didn't call. Not yet. Instead, I typed another search. Caleb Jennings, North Carolina. Some lies are too big to swallow alone. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. The house was silent, except for the hum of my laptop and the sound of my own breathing, shallow and uneven. It was 11 at night when I opened the browser, and I didn't stop until the sky outside started to turn gray. I started with Paul Jennings. A simple search made it easy. There he was, older than the photos in the box, but unmistakably the same man. Paul Jennings, electrician, living in Concord, North Carolina. His profile picture showed him standing beside a woman with kind eyes and graying hair. His wife, I assumed, a second chance. I scrolled through his posts, pictures of work sites, a truck he'd restored, a few shares about local high school football games, normal, steady, the kind of life Diane had walked away from. Then I found Caleb. Caleb Jennings, 23 years old, mechanical engineer, recently graduated from NC State. His profile was public, filled with photos of job sites, friends, a girlfriend with a bright smile. One post from 6 months ago stopped me cold. "Thanks for everything, Dad. Couldn't have done it without you." The photo showed Caleb in a cap and gown, arms slung around Paul's shoulders. Both of them grinning. No mention of Diane. Not a single one. Not in his entire timeline. She'd erased herself from his life so completely that he didn't even acknowledge she existed. I stared at that photo for a long time. This kid, this man had grown up without a mother. Because Diane decided he wasn't worth the effort because I had money and Paul didn't. My hands curled into fists. I forced myself to keep searching. Troy Bennett, personal trainer, Elite Fitness Club on South Kings Drive, Charlotte, 34 years old. His social media was full of shirtless gym selfies, client testimonials, and motivational quotes that made my jaw clench. One photo posted 2 weeks ago showed him at a restaurant. I recognized Emily's French Bakery on North Davidson. In the background, barely visible, was a woman in sunglasses. Diane. I zoomed in. It was her. Same hair, same posture, same goddamn perfume. I could almost smell through the screen. The rage that hit me was white hot. I wanted to call her right then. Scream at her until my voice gave out. Demand answers. Make her admit what she'd done. But I didn't, because the smarter part of me, the part that had spent 14 years managing a hospital, dealing with crises, making decisions under pressure, knew better. If I confronted her now, she'd spin it, twist it, make me look crazy. She'd done it before, hadn't she? With Paul, with Caleb, with God knows who else. No. I needed evidence. Real, undeniable, ironclad evidence. I opened a new document on my laptop and started typing. Action Plan 1. Troy Bennett confirmed the affair. Get photos, receipts, anything concrete. 2. Paul Jennings. Meet him. Find out what Diane did. Build an ally. 3. Finances. Audit everything. Bank accounts, credit cards, transfers. Find out where our money went. 4. Harper. Figure out what she knows. How deep is she in this? I sat back and stared at the list. 4 steps. 4 threads that could unravel everything Diane had built. It was 3 o'clock in the morning when I finally closed the laptop. My eyes burned, my head throbbed, but for the first time since I'd opened that box, I felt something other than despair. I felt purpose. Tomorrow night, Diane and Harper would be home. They'd walk through the door with shopping bags and stories about Atlanta, and I'd have to smile, hug them, pretend everything was fine. I had 36 hours to learn how to lie as well as my wife did. Money doesn't lie. Only people do. Sunday morning came too fast. I made coffee I didn't drink and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop staring at the login screen for our bank account. My hands hovered over the keyboard. This was it. The financial trail Diane thought I'd never find. I logged in. Our joint checking account loaded first. I scrolled through 3 years of transactions, my stomach tightening with every swipe. There it was, a pattern I'd been too blind to see. Withdrawals every month, $3,200 like clockwork. I opened a spreadsheet and started adding. Month after month, 3 years, $115,200 gone. I clicked into Diane's business account, the one she'd set up 2 years ago for her real estate work, the one I'd never questioned because I trusted her. Transfers. Regular automated transfers to an account I didn't recognize. I copied the routing number and searched it. Troy Bennett. My wife had been paying her lover's bills with our money. I kept digging. Rent payments to Cedar Street Apartments. $1,850 a month. I pulled up the complex on a map, 20 minutes from our house, a one-bedroom in a mid-range building. She'd rented him an apartment. I moved to the credit card statements next. Diane's card, the one tied to our account. The charges read like a timeline of betrayal. Jewelry, men's jewelry, $6,800 at a boutique downtown. I zoomed in on the date 3 months ago, right around our anniversary. The same week, she'd told me she was too tired to go out to dinner. Restaurants I'd never been to, expensive ones, the kind with cloth napkins and wine lists longer than the menu. Hotels in Charlotte, our own city. Why would she need a hotel in the city where we lived? I knew why. Then I saw the shopping charges. $14,900 in the last 6 months alone. Department stores, boutiques, online retailers. I clicked into the details. Junior sizes, teen brands, Harper. Diane had been buying Harper's silence. I pushed back from the table, my chest tight. The room felt too small, too hot. I forced myself to keep going. Savings account. I pulled it up. The balance sat there in bold numbers, $47,312. I stared at it. That was wrong. I opened the file on my desktop, the budget spreadsheet I updated every quarter. According to my records, we should have $92,000 in savings. $45,000 missing. I scrolled through the history. Transfers out labeled as home repairs and business investments. Dates that lined up with weekends. Diane said she was at conferences. Weekends she'd come home smiling, refreshed, telling me how productive the trip had been. I added it all up. Every withdrawal, every charge, every missing dollar, $160,000. Over 3 years, my wife had stolen or spent on her lover and our daughter more than $160,000 of our money. I took screenshots, every statement, every charge, every transfer. I emailed them to myself, then to a secure cloud account Daniel had set up for me years ago for hospital files. Then I printed everything. 2 copies, one went into the safe in my office, the other into an envelope I'd mail to Daniel tomorrow. Evidence, cold, undeniable, documented. I sat back in my chair and let the weight of it settle over me. Diane hadn't just lied to me. She'd robbed me systematically for years, and Harper had helped her do it. There was still one more place I needed to look. One place I'd been avoiding because part of me didn't want to know. My daughter's room. The worst betrayal comes from the people who call you dad. I stood outside Harper's door for a full minute before I opened it. This was her space, her privacy. For 16 years, I'd respected that. Knocked before entering, never snooped. But that was before I knew what she'd become. The door swung open. Her room was pristine. Too pristine. The bed was made with hospital corners. Her desk was organized. Everything in its place. Nothing like the teenage chaos I had expected. On her dresser sat a row of shopping bags, designer logos I recognized from the credit card statements. I walked over and looked inside. A leather belt still wrapped in tissue paper. The price tag was tucked inside. $450. I pulled it out. Gucci. I moved to her closet. It was full. Clothes with tags still attached. Jeans that cost more than my work shoes. Dresses I'd never seen her wear. A purse sitting on the top shelf cream-colored with gold hardware. I pulled it down and checked the tag inside. Louis Vuitton. $2,200. My hands shook. Harper was 16 years old. She had no job, no income. Every dollar she had came from me from the money Diane had stolen. I turned to her desk. Her laptop was closed, but beside it was a journal, small leather bound with a ribbon bookmark. I hesitated. Then I opened it. The entries were recent, written in Harper's looping handwriting, the kind they still taught in middle school. Mom says if I help her, I'll get everything I want. She promised. Recorded Dad today. He was yelling about something at work. Perfect. Mom says we can use it. Finally, I don't have to be the poor one anymore. Emma's going to freak when she sees my new bag. I flipped forward. More entries, each one worse than the last. Mom says Dad's cheap. That he's been holding us back. She says after the divorce, we'll have the house, the money, everything. Dad asked me today if I was okay. I lied and said yes. He believed me. He's so pathetic. The journal fell from my hands. I moved to her laptop. It wasn't password protected. I'd set it up for her 2 years ago with parent controls. I opened the browser history. The searches were there, recent ones. How to edit audio files. Can minors testify in divorce court? False abuse claim settlement amounts. My vision blurred. She wasn't just complicit. She was active. She was helping Diane build a case against me, recording me, editing audio, planning testimony. My 16-year-old daughter was trying to destroy me. I sat down on the edge of her bed, the bed I'd built when she was 6, the one with the unicorn decals she'd begged for, and put my head in my hands. How long had this been going? On months, years. Had she ever loved me, or had Diane poisoned her so completely that I'd never stood a chance? My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Diane. Having so much fun, Harper says, "Hi, love you." There was a photo attached, the two of them in front of some boutique in Atlanta. Diane's arm around Harper's shoulders. Both of them smiling, happy. A perfect lie. I stared at the screen. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Then I typed, "Love you, too." I hit send. I'd learned how to lie after all. Sometimes the only person who understands your pain is the one who walked in those shoes before you. I sent the message Sunday afternoon, my hand steadier than I expected. Need to talk about Diane, Paul responded within 10 minutes. Common Ground's coffee conquered 3 p.m. The drive took 40 minutes. I spent most of it rehearsing what I'd say. How do you tell a stranger that his ex-wife destroyed your life? The same way she destroyed his paw was already there when I arrived. 47 maybe. Broad shoulders, work-worn hands wrapped around a coffee mug. He looked up when I walked in and I saw the recognition in his eyes. "Bradley," he said, standing to shake my hand. "Paul." We sat for a moment. Neither of us spoke. Then Paul leaned back and let out a long breath. "So she did it again." I nodded. "How long were you married?" I asked. "For years together since 2005. Married in 2006, right after Caleb turned 4. He paused. "She was different back then. Or maybe I just didn't see it. When did it change?" 2009, she started wanting more. Better house, better car, better life. He shook his head. "I'm an electrician. I made decent money, but it wasn't enough. She met me that year," I said quietly. Paul looked at me. No anger, just resignation. "You were a hospital administrator." "She was selling houses to doctors." "Yeah. She saw an opportunity." His voice was flat. "Filed for divorce in late 2009. I begged her to stay. She said I was holding her back." I thought of the journal, the letters, the coldness in every word Diane had written, the child support. She paid for 6 months, then stopped. Paul stared into his coffee. I couldn't afford to chase her. I had Caleb to raise. Caleb broke his heart. He kept asking why mommy didn't come home. Paul's jaw tightened. How do you explain that his mother chose money over him? The door chimed. I looked up. A young man walked in tall, dark-haired with Paul's build in Diane's eyes. He saw us and hesitated. Paul waved him over. "Caleb, this is Bradley Pierce." Caleb sat down across from us, his expression guarded. "So, you're the reason she left." The accusation hung in the air. "No," I said, "I didn't know about you. She lied to me the same way she lied to your dad." Caleb studied me, then slowly he nodded. "You got kids." "2, Harper's 16. Tyler's 11. She playing them, too." I thought of the journal, the shopping bags, the recordings. "Harper, yeah, Tyler doesn't know yet." Caleb leaned back, his arms crossed. "My mom's really good at making people think she loves them, right up until she doesn't need them anymore. I'm finding that out." Paul cleared his throat. "What are you going to do?" "Divorce. Fight for custody of Tyler. Document everything." Caleb looked at his father, then back at me. "If you need me to testify about what kind of mother she was, I'll do it." Something loosened in my chest. "Thank you." We talked for another hour. Dates, details, evidence. By the time I left, I had a folder full of Paul's documents, child support records, court filings, letters. Diane never answered. Proof. I drove back to Charlotte as the sun set. My phone rang just as I hit the city limits. "Diane," I answered. "Hey, babe." Her voice was honey sweet. "We're having the best time. Harper found the cutest dress. Can't wait to show you." I gripped the steering wheel. "Can't wait to see it. We'll be home tomorrow around 6 o'clock. Miss you so much." "Miss you, too. See you tomorrow." I hung up tomorrow. When my lying wife came home, and I'd have to look her in the eyes and pretend nothing had changed. The hardest performance is pretending your heart isn't broken. I picked up Tyler from camp Sunday evening. He climbed into the truck with his duffel bag sunburned and grinning, talking nonstop about archery and swimming and the friend he'd made from Raleigh. I tried to focus on his voice to let it anchor me. "Dad, you okay?" He looked at me, his smile fading. "You look sad." I forced a smile. "Just tired, buddy. Long weekend." "Where's Mom and Harper?" "Still in Atlanta. They'll be home tomorrow." We stopped for ice cream on the way home. Tyler got his usual mint chocolate chip 2 scoops. I watched him across the table laughing at something on his phone, completely unaware that his world was about to collapse. I wanted to freeze that moment. Keep him exactly like this, safe, innocent. After Tyler went to bed, I sat in my office and called Daniel Warren. Daniel and I went back to college, roommates freshman year. He'd gone into family law. I'd gone into hospital administration. We'd stayed close. He answered on the second ring. "Bradley, what's up?" I told him everything. The box, the marriage, Caleb, the money, Harper, Troy. There was a long silence on the other end. "Jesus, Bradley, I need to know what to do." "Don't confront her yet." His voice was firm, professional. "You need ironclad evidence, photos of the affair, proof she's planning to frame you. Without that, it's your word against hers." "How do I get photos?" "Follow her or hire someone." "I'll do it myself, Bradley. I need to see it with my own eyes." Daniel sighed. "Okay, but be careful. Don't do anything stupid. And for God's sake, don't let her know you're on to her." "I won't." After we hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time. Then I got up and started preparing. I cleaned the house, vacuumed, did laundry, went to the grocery store and bought fresh pasta, tomatoes, basil, everything I needed to make Diane's favorite dinner. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and practiced smiling. "Hey babe, how was Atlanta?" My reflection stared back at me, hollow, tired. I tried again. Hey babe, how was Atlanta? Better, softer, believable. I could do this. I had to. Monday morning 6:15. I heard the sound of Diane's BMW pulling into the driveway. I was at the stove stirring marinara sauce. The kitchen filled with the smell of garlic and basil. My hands were steady. My face was calm. The front door opened. Honey, we're home. I turned, smiled. Welcome back. Diane crossed the kitchen and kissed me. Her lips were soft, familiar. I tasted the lies. Oh my God, you made dinner. You're the best. She squeezed my hand, her eyes bright and warm. Harper appeared in the doorway, shopping bags in both hands. She glanced at me, then looked away. Hey, Harp, I said. Good trip. Yeah, let me see what you got. She hesitated, then held up a bag. Just clothes. $2,200 worth. I smiled. Can't wait to see them. Diane wrapped her arms around my waist from behind, resting her chin on my shoulder. I missed you so much. I put my hand over hers. Missed you, too. Tyler came bounding down the stairs, crashing into Diane with a hug. She laughed bright and genuine and ruffled his hair. For a moment, we looked like a normal family. But I knew the truth now, and tomorrow, I'd start gathering proof. Acting is easy when your audience doesn't know there's a performance. Monday night, the four of us sat around the dinner table like we had 1,000 times before. Pasta, salad, garlic bread. Tyler was still riding the high from camp, talking non-stop about the rope course and the counselor who could do backflips. Diane smiled and laughed in all the right places, her hand resting on mine. Atlanta was amazing, she said, turning to me. Harper and I had the best time. Mother-daughter bonding, you know. That's great, I said, keeping my voice light. What did you guys do? Oh, shopping. Obviously. Lunch at this incredible little bistro. We even got pedicures. She wiggled her toes, showing off coral-painted nails. Harper said nothing. She sat across from me, eyes glued to her phone fingers, scrolling. She hadn't looked at me once since they got home. I noticed the jewelry, a delicate gold bracelet on her wrist. New expensive. That's pretty, Harp, I said, nodding toward it. She glanced up, startled. Thanks. Birthday gift. No, just Mom got it for me. Diane squeezed my hand. She deserves something special. I smiled. Of course. Tyler, oblivious, piped up. Did you get me anything? Harper's eyes flicked to Diane, then back to her phone. That's private. Diane shot Harper a warning look. Just a flash. Gone in a second. But I saw it. Tyler frowned. What does that mean? It means mind your business, Tyler. Harper snapped. Hey, I said gently. Be nice to your brother. Harper's jaw tightened. She said nothing. The rest of dinner passed in forced pleasantries. I asked Diane about work. She asked about the hospital. We talked around each other like actors reading lines. After dinner, Diane wrapped her arms around me in the kitchen, her head on my chest. I missed you so much, she whispered. I put my arms around her, felt the warmth of her body, smelled her perfume. Missed you too. She tilted her head up and kissed me, soft, lingering. I kissed her back. Every part of me wanted to shove her away, to scream, to demand the truth, but I didn't. I held her, kissed her, played my part. Later that night, Diane went to bed early, exhausted from the trip, she said. I told her I had some work emails to catch up on. I waited until I heard her breathing slow, deep even. Then I slipped into the bedroom. Her phone was on the nightstand, charging. I picked it up carefully, my heart pounding. The password was Tyler's birthday. It always had been. I unlocked it. Text first. I scrolled to the thread with T, deleted. All of it wiped clean since this morning, but she couldn't delete the call log. There it was. Troy, 4:17 p.m. 2 minutes today. This afternoon. She'd called her lover on the drive home from Atlanta, probably while Harper sat beside her in the passenger seat. My hands shook. I took a screenshot, sent it to myself, deleted the sent message from her phone. Then I put the phone back exactly where I had found it. I walked downstairs and sat in the dark living room, staring at nothing. She'd kissed me tonight, told me she missed me, held me like I was the only man in the world, and 4 hours earlier, she'd been on the phone with him. The next morning, Diane came downstairs dressed for work. Navy blazer, heels, hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. "I've got showings all day," she said, pouring coffee into a travel mug. "Probably won't be home until 6. "No problem. I'll pick up Tyler from practice." She kissed me goodbye. Sweet, quick routine. "Love you. Love you, too." I watched her walk to the car, watched her pull out of the driveway. Then I grabbed my keys and followed. Seeing is believing, and believing is agony. I kept 3 cars back, far enough that she wouldn't notice, close enough that I wouldn't lose her. Diane's BMW moved through morning traffic with ease. She didn't head toward her office on Tryon Street. Instead, she turned south, winding through the streets of Southtown. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. She pulled into the parking lot of Cedar Street Apartments, the same complex I'd seen on the bank statements. $1,850 a month. I parked across the street, half hidden behind a delivery van. Diane stepped out of her car, phone in hand, heels clicking on the pavement. She didn't look around, didn't hesitate. She walked straight to Building C and pulled out a key, her own key. She let herself in like she'd done it 1,000 times. I waited. My heart hammered in my chest. My hands were slick with sweat. 5 minutes passed, then 10. I raised my phone camera ready. The balcony door on the 3rd floor slid open. Troy Bennett stepped out first, shirtless, barefoot, smiling. Then Diane. She was laughing. Her hair was down. She wasn't wearing the blazer anymore. Just a silk blouse, half untucked. He wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her close. She kissed him. Not a peck, not polite, deep, hungry, the kind of kiss I hadn't seen from her in years. My stomach turned. I started taking pictures, one after another, 47 in total. Close-ups, wide shots, timestamps, every angle I could manage. Troy's hands tangled in her hair. She pressed against him, her arms around his neck. They looked like lovers, like people who couldn't keep their hands off each other, like people in love. I lowered the phone. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. 14 years of marriage, 2 kids, a house, a life, and she'd never looked at me the way she was looking at him. I'd been a paycheck, a means to an end, a stepping stone. She'd never loved me. I sat in my truck, staring at the screen, scrolling through the photos. Each one felt like a knife twisting deeper. After an hour, Diane came back out, blazer back on, hair fixed, heels clicking. She checked her phone, smiled at something, then got in her car and drove away. Probably off to an actual showing now, or maybe another lie. I didn't follow her this time. I had what I needed. I drove home in silence. The photos sat in my phone like evidence at a crime scene. Undeniable, brutal. When I walked through the front door, the house felt different, hollow. I looked at the wall in the living room, our wedding photo framed, and hung for 14 years. Diane in white, me in a tux, both of us smiling. I didn't recognize the man in that picture anymore. My phone buzzed. Dad. I stared at the name on the screen. Walter Pierce, 68 years old, retired cop, functional alcoholic, the man I'd kept at arm's length for the last 5 years because I couldn't handle his demons. But suddenly, I needed to see him. I needed to know if he'd known all along. Some secrets destroy both the keeper and the kept. Dad's house sat at the end of a gravel driveway 20 minutes outside Charlotte. A small ranch-style place with peeling paint and an overgrown lawn. I hadn't been here in over a year. I knocked. No answer. I tried the door unlocked. Dad. I found him in the living room slouched in his recliner with a glass of whiskey in his hand. The TV was on some old cop show playing on mute. He looked up when I walked in. His eyes red, rimmed and tired. Bradley. His voice was rough, worn down. We need to talk. He set the glass down on the side table and nodded slowly. I figured you'd come eventually. I sat down on the couch across from him. How long have you known? He didn't ask what I meant. He didn't pretend. 8 years. His voice cracked. Maybe longer. The air left my lungs. 8 years. And you never told me. She threatened me, Bradley. He leaned forward, hands clasped between his knees. Said if I said anything, she'd make sure I never saw Harper or Tyler again. Said she'd tell everyone I was a drunk, that I was dangerous, that I couldn't be trusted around kids. You are a drunk? I said the words harsher than I intended. He flinched. I know, but I wasn't always this bad. Not until he stopped, looked away. Not until what? Not until she started putting something in my coffee. I stared at him. What? Every time I came over, every Sunday dinner, every birthday party, she'd make me coffee. Said it was a peace offering that she wanted us to get along. His hands trembled. An hour later, I'd be dizzy. Couldn't think straight. Couldn't drive. I'd black out sometimes, wake up hours later with no memory of what happened. My chest tightened. Dad. I thought it was the drinking. Thought I was losing it. So, I drank more to cope, which made it worse. He looked at me, his eyes hollow. She was gaslighting me, Bradley, making me think I was crazy, making everyone else think it, too. I thought back. Sunday dinners. The way Diane always insisted on making Dad's coffee. The way she'd smile and say, Walter, you look exhausted. Maybe you should lie down. The way he'd stumble, slur his words, fall asleep on our couch. And I'd believed her. Believed she was trying to help. Believed he was just getting worse. What did she give you? I don't know. Sedatives, maybe. Something that mimicked being drunk. He rubbed his face. I took my coffee to a buddy of mine, former lab tech. He found traces of something. Zolpidem. My blood ran cold. Bradley. Dad's voice dropped. Have you been feeling tired? Foggy like you can't think straight. I opened my mouth to say no. But I stopped. The last few months, the exhaustion I couldn't shake. The mornings I woke up groggy even after a full night's sleep. The coffee Diane made me every morning before work. Oh, God. She's been dosing you, too, Dad said quietly. Hasn't she? I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. If she's doing this, Dad said, gripping my shoulder. What else is she planning? My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. Check your wife's search history. Life insurance. I stared at the screen. Life insurance. My hands went numb. I had a policy, a big one. $2 million. Diane was the beneficiary. If something happened to me, an accident, a sudden illness, anything, she'd get everything. And I'd been drinking her coffee every morning for 14 years. The line between betrayal and murder is just opportunity. 8 o'clock Tuesday night. The house was empty. Diane had taken Harper to some school event. Tyler was at a friend's house for a sleepover. I was alone. I sat at Diane's desk in the spare bedroom she used as a home office. Her laptop sat closed in front of me. I'd never opened it before. Never had a reason to until now. I lifted the screen. It powered on. No password. She'd always been careless about that. I opened the browser history. The searches loaded slowly, one by one, each entry worse than the last. How to make brake failure look like an accident. Undetectable poisons that mimic heart attacks. Life insurance payout delays after accidental death. How long does it take for brake lines to fail after being cut? My hand started shaking. I scrolled further back. Weeks? Months? Can police detect tampered brake lines? Average settlement for wrongful death spouse. Signs of a heart attack versus poisoning. I opened her documents folder, scanned the file names. Most were work-related. Contracts, listings, client information. Then I saw it. Planned final.docs. I clicked it open. The document loaded. My vision blurred as I read. It wasn't a work plan. It wasn't a shopping list. It was a blueprint. Stage 1, gradual sedation. Build dependency. Make him think he's sick. Doctors won't find anything. Stage 2, brake line, slow cut, won't fail immediately. Looks like wear and tear. Accident on highway. No questions. Stage 3, Troy moves in within 6 months. Sell house. Start new life in Florida. At the bottom of the page was a number. $500 to my life insurance policy. She'd been planning to kill me. Not in a fit of rage, not impulsively, methodically, carefully over months. I sat back in the chair, my chest tight, my breathing shallow. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was attempted murder. I forced myself to keep reading. There was more. A draft will leaving everything to Troy Bennett. The house, the savings, the $410K, even custody of Tyler. She'd thought of everything. I closed the laptop and walked outside to the driveway. My truck sat under the street light exactly where I had parked it that morning. I knelt down beside the front tire and pulled out my phone, turning on the flashlight. I crawled underneath. The brake lines ran along the undercarriage black rubber tubing connecting the master cylinder to the wheels. I found the cut on the driver's side. Not a clean slice, a partial cut, deep enough to weaken the line, but not enough to fail immediately. It would take time, pressure, a hard stop on the highway, and then it would snap. I'd lose control, crash, die, and Diane would cry at my funeral and collect $500,000. I crawled back out and sat on the driveway staring at my hands. They were covered in grease and dirt. She'd done this or had Troy do it. Either way, she'd planned it. I pulled out my phone and texted Daniel. Found proof she's planning to kill me. Brake lines cut. Search history. Everything, he responded within seconds. Do not confront her alone. Call the police now. I stared at the message. Then I stood up, walked back inside, and grabbed a small voice recorder from my office drawer. The kind I used for hospital meetings. I placed it behind a row of books on the living room shelf. Hidden recording. Tomorrow I'd confront her, not alone, in front of Harper. Let my daughter see exactly who her mother really was. Truth cuts deepest when it comes from your own child. 4 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. I texted Harper to come downstairs. Tyler was still at his friend's house. Diane was at a showing or so, she said. It was just the two of us. Harper walked into the living room, phone and hand earbuds dangling around her neck. She looked annoyed. What? I gestured to the couch. Sit down. We need to talk. She rolled her eyes but sat. If this is about my grades, it's not. I placed the folder on the coffee table between us. It's about your mother. Her expression shifted, guarded. What about her? I opened the folder, pulled out the first document, the marriage certificate. Paul Jennings. Caleb. Your mother was married before. She has a son, Caleb. He's 23. Harper barely glanced at it. So that's her past. She abandoned him, stopped paying child support, erased him from her life. Maybe she had a reason. I pulled out the bank statements. Next, the highlighted withdrawals, the transfers to Troy. She's been stealing from us $160,000 over 3 years. She's been paying for her boyfriend's apartment, buying him gifts with our money. Harper's jaw tightened, but she didn't look surprised. You already knew, I said quietly. She looked away. I pulled out the photos. 47 images of Diane and Troy on the balcony, kissing, holding each other. Harper's face went pale. She's cheating on me. Has been for years. My voice was steady, controlled. And you've been helping her. I haven't. The journal, Harper, the recordings, the fake evidence. I know everything. Her eyes filled with tears, but not the kind that come from guilt. The kind that come from anger. You don't understand, she said, her voice breaking. Mom said you were holding us back. That you were cheap. That if we got rid of you, we'd finally have the life we deserve. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Got rid of me? She didn't answer. I pulled out the last document. The draft, the one leaving everything to Troy Bennett. Look at this, Harper. Look at who she's leaving everything to. Harper took the paper, read it. Her hands started shaking. She's leaving you nothing. Zero. You think you're getting the house, the money, the life she promised you. I leaned forward. She's cutting you out just like she cut out Caleb. Harper's face crumpled. No, she wouldn't. And this? I pulled out the search history, the planned final document. She's planning to kill me, cut my brake lines, make it look like an accident, collect the life insurance, and run off with Troy. Harper stared at the pages. Her breathing quickened. You're lying. I'm not. And deep down, you know it. For a moment, I thought I'd reached her. I thought she'd finally see who Diane really was. But then her face hardened. She stood up, grabbed her phone, and dialed. Mom, you need to come home now. Dad's lost it. He's going through your stuff, making up lies. I stared at her. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. You're boring, Dad. You've always been boring. Mom deserves better. We both do. She walked out of the room. I sat there alone, the evidence scattered across the table. An hour later, I heard the screech of tires in the driveway. Diane burst through the front door. Harper right behind her. Bradley, Harper says, you've been going through my things. I stood up, calm, ready. The voice recorder was still running behind the bookshelf. Yeah, we need to talk. Truth destroys more than lies ever could. Diane stormed into the living room, her face flushed with righteous anger. Harper stood behind her, arms crossed, defiant. What the hell is going on? Bradley, Harper said, you've been going through my personal things. I stayed seated, calm, my hands folded in my lap. Sit down, Diane. I will not sit down. You have no right. I found the box. She froze. The color drained from her face for just a second. Then she recovered, shaking her head. What box? What are you talking about? The one in the garage. Jennings Concord 2009. Her jaw tightened. I don't know what I picked up the folder from the coffee table and tossed the photos onto the floor between us. 47 images of her and Troy kissing, touching, smiling. Cedar Street Apartments yesterday morning. You told me you had showings all day. Diane stared at the photos, her mouth opened, closed. She looked at Harper, then back at me. Bradley, I can explain. Explain what? That you've been having an affair for 3 years. That you've stolen over $160,000 from our accounts to pay for his apartment. His gifts, his life. That's not, or maybe you want to explain this. I pulled out the printed search history, the planned final document. I read it aloud, my voice steady. Stage 2, break line. Slow cut. Won't fail immediately. Looks like wear and tear. Accident on highway equals no questions. Diane's face went white. You tried to kill me. No, Bradley. That's not what it looks like. I found the cut on my brake line, Diane. I had it checked. It's been tampered with. She took a step back, shaking her head frantically. You're insane. You're making this up. The doorbell rang. I stood up, walked to the door, opened it. Daniel Warren stepped inside, briefcase in hand. He looked at Diane, then at me. Bradley called me an hour ago, Daniel said, his voice calm and professional. I'm here as his attorney and to witness this conversation. Diane's eyes went wide. This is a setup. You're setting me up. No, I said I'm protecting myself and my son. She lunged toward me, her voice rising to a scream. You can't do this. This is my house, my life. You can't just, it's not your house. Daniel's voice cut through the room like a blade. The deed is in Bradley's name. He has every right to ask you to leave. Leave. Diane's voice cracked. She looked at me, her eyes filling with tears. Bradley, please. We can work this out. I made mistakes, but we can fix this for the kids. For Tyler. You tried to murder me. I didn't. I swear I didn't. That document. It was just Emma. I was angry. I wasn't thinking. Get out. Her face twisted. The tears stopped. The mask fell away. You're going to regret this. She hissed. I'll take everything. The house, the money. Tyler, you'll have nothing. Try it. Daniel stepped forward. We have documented evidence of adultery, financial fraud, and attempted murder. If you fight this, you'll lose everything, including your freedom. Diane's hands clenched into fists. She looked at Harper. Come on, baby. We're leaving. Harper hesitated. She looked at me just for a second. I wanted to reach for her, to tell her she didn't have to go, that I loved her, that I'd always love her. But before I could speak, she turned and walked out the door. Diane followed. The door slammed shut. I stood there staring at the space where my daughter had been. Daniel put a hand on my shoulder. Bradley, she chose her, I said quietly. She looked at me and chose her. She's 16. She's been manipulated for years. Give her time. I didn't answer. Through the window, I watched Diane's car pull out of the driveway. Harper in the passenger seat. Both of them disappearing into the night. Daniel cleared his throat. Where's Tyler? Sleepover at his friend's house. I'm picking him up tomorrow. Good. That's good. He paused. Did you get the recording? I nodded, walked to the bookshelf, and pulled out the voice recorder. Every word. Diane didn't know. But I had everything. Justice doesn't heal wounds, but it closes doors. Thursday morning, I called the police. 2 officers arrived within the hour. I showed them everything. The break lines, the search history, the planned final document, the voice recording from the confrontation. They listened, took notes, photographed the truck. Then they asked me to come to the station for a blood test. The results came back 3 days later. Zolpidem detectable levels consistent with regular dosing over an extended period. I'd been poisoned for months, maybe longer. Diane was arrested on a Friday afternoon. Attempted murder, financial fraud. The charges read like something out of a crime thriller. Not my life. She made bail within 24 hours. Troy's doing, I assumed. Or maybe she'd hidden money I hadn't found yet. I didn't care anymore. The divorce proceeding started 2 weeks later. Diane fought everything. Custody, the house, the savings. She hired an expensive attorney, one last gift from Troy probably, and came out swinging. Harper testified for her. I sat in that courtroom and watched my 16-year-old daughter lie under oath. She said I was controlling, emotionally abusive, that I'd manufactured evidence to frame her mother. She looked right at me when she said it. I didn't react, didn't flinch. I'd known she would do this. Daniel had warned me, but knowing didn't make it hurt less. Then it was my turn. I presented the bank statements, the photos, the tampering evidence. Paul and Caleb testified about Diane's abandonment. Dad testified about the poisoning. The judge listened to all of it. 3 months later, the ruling came down. I won full custody of Tyler. The house stayed in my name. Diane was ordered to pay back the stolen funds, $160,000 plus legal fees. She was also convicted on the attempted murder charge, suspended sentence, 5 years probation, mandatory psychiatric evaluation. Harper wasn't named in the custody order. At 16, she could choose where she lived. She chose Diane. They moved into a small apartment across town. No more BMW. No more designer bags. Troy had disappeared the moment Diane's accounts dried up. Turns out loyalty has a price. I picked Tyler up from his friend's house the day after the confrontation. I told him the truth, as much as he could handle, that Mom and I were getting divorced, that he'd be living with me, that Harper had chosen to stay with Mom for now. He cried, asked if it was his fault. I held him and told him it wasn't, that none of this was his fault. He asked if he'd ever see Harper again. I said, I hope so. The first few months were hard. Tyler had nightmares. I took him to a therapist. We started new routines. Saturday morning pancakes, homework at the kitchen table, movie nights with popcorn. Slowly, we found our rhythm. I changed jobs. Took a position at a smaller hospital. Less pay but better hours. I needed to be home for Tyler. Dad got sober. Really sober this time. He joined AA, started coming to Sunday dinners again. Tyler loved having him around. Paul and Caleb visited once a month. Caleb and Tyler bonded over video games. Paul and I talked about life after Diane, about rebuilding. It felt like family. A strange patchwork family, but family nonetheless. 6 months passed, then a year. I sold the wedding photo, painted over the bedroom walls, bought new furniture. I erased her the same way she tried to erase Paul and Caleb. It was a Sunday morning when the doorbell rang. Exactly 1 year after I'd found the box, Tyler was at camp again. I was alone. I opened the door. Harper stood there, thin, hollow-eyed. Her clothes hung loose on her frame. She looked older than 17, tired, broken. "Dad," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can we talk? Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to move forward." Harper stood on my doorstep, trembling. I hadn't seen her in a year. She looked like a stranger. "Come in," I said. She stepped inside, her eyes darting around the living room. Everything had changed. New couch, new paint. The wedding photo was gone. "Where's Tyler?" she asked quietly. "Camp. He'll be back tonight," she nodded. Didn't sit down. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then she broke. "I'm sorry." Her voice cracked. Tears streamed down her face. "Dad, I'm so sorry. She told me you were the problem. That you were holding us back, that if I helped her, we'd finally be happy." I stayed silent, let her talk. After the trial, she stopped caring about me, blamed me for not being convincing enough in court. Harper's hands shook. Troy left. The money ran out. She started drinking. She'd scream at me. Tell me I was useless, that I'd ruined everything. My chest tightened. A month ago, she told me to leave. Said she couldn't afford to take care of me anymore. Harper looked up at me, her eyes red and swollen. "I didn't come here because I had nowhere else to go. I came because I finally understand what she is. And I'm so sorry I didn't see it before." I exhaled slowly. "Sit down, Harper." She sat on the edge of the couch, her hands clasped in her lap. I sat across from her. "You hurt me," I said. "You stood in that courtroom and lied about me. You chose her over Tyler. Over me. I know. Tyler's been in therapy for a year. He had nightmares for months. He kept asking why his sister abandoned him." Harper's face crumpled. "I want to see him. He's angry, Harper. Really angry. And he has every right to be." I leaned forward. "You can come to dinner once a month. No promises. You show up. You apologize to Tyler. And you prove through actions, not words, that you've changed." Harper's eyes widened. "You're giving me a chance. One chance." She nodded frantically. "Thank you. I won't mess this up. I swear. We'll see." The first dinner was 2 weeks later, a Sunday. Harper showed up early, nervous, carrying a gift for Tyler. A video game he'd been wanting. Tyler didn't hug her, barely looked at her. "Hi, Tyler," she said softly. "Hi." It was painful to watch, but I let them navigate it. Then the doorbell rang. Paul and Caleb stood there smiling. "Hope we're not late," Paul said. Harper froze. She stared at them, confused. "Harper." I said, "This is Paul Jennings and his son Caleb. They're family now." Caleb stepped forward. "Hey, Harper, I'm your brother. Half-brother. Diane's my mom, too." Harper's mouth opened. She shook his hand slowly. "You're Caleb?" "Yeah, she abandoned you." "She did. And you're here." Caleb smiled. Sad but genuine. "Your dad gave me and my dad a second chance at family. Figured we'd pay it forward." Harper sat down at the table, tears streaming down her face. Paul sat beside her. It's hard when you realize the person you loved wasn't who you thought they were, but you get to choose what happens next. Dinner was quiet, awkward, but we ate together, and for the first time in a year, Harper smiled. Tyler didn't forgive her that night, or the next month. But slowly over time, he softened. As for me, I didn't hate Diane anymore. I pied her. She'd had everything. A family, a home, people who loved her, and she'd thrown it all away for money, and a man who didn't even stay. I chose differently. I chose forgiveness, healing, family, and it made all the difference. There are mornings you wake up and realize this isn't the family I thought I had. It's better because it's real. 2 years after I found that box in the garage, I stood in my kitchen on a Sunday morning making pancakes again. But everything was different now. Tyler sat at the counter, 17 years old, telling me about his college visits. He wanted to study engineering like Caleb. Harper was setting the table. She'd moved back in 6 months ago, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. She was in community college now, working part-time, paying her own way, proving every day that she'd changed. The doorbell rang. Dad walked in first, carrying bagels, sober for 2 years now. His eyes were clear, his hands steady. "Morning, son." "Morning, Dad." Paul and Caleb followed. Caleb had gotten engaged last month. His fiancée, Emma, came with them, shy, sweet, fitting, right in. This was my family now. Not the one I'd planned, not the one I'd thought I wanted, but the one I'd chosen, and the one that had chosen me back. We sat around the table, 7 of us passing plates, laughing, talking over each other. It was loud, chaotic, imperfect. It was real. Harper caught my eye across the table. She smiled. Small, grateful. I smiled back. Tyler leaned over to Caleb, showing him something on his phone. Caleb laughed, clapped him on the shoulder. Brothers, not by blood, but by choice. No one mentioned Diane. She'd moved to Florida 6 months ago, alone. Last I heard, she was working as a secretary. No more real estate. No more BMW. No more Troy. I didn't hate her anymore. I pied her. She'd had everything. A family who loved her, a husband who trusted her, 2 beautiful kids, and she'd traded it all for money. For a man who left the moment things got hard, she'd chosen lies. I'd chosen truth, and the truth had set me free. That night, after everyone left, I stood in the garage, the same garage where I had found the box 2 years ago. I looked at the spot where it had been hidden, behind Tyler's old sports equipment, buried under dust and forgotten things. That box had destroyed my life. But it had also saved it. Because if I'd never found it, I'd still be living a lie. I'd still be married to a woman who was planning to kill me. I'd still be blind. The box wasn't a curse. It was a gift. The gift of truth. I couldn't erase what Diane had done. I couldn't undo the pain, the betrayal, the year I lost with Harper. But I could choose who I became after my world fell apart. I could choose bitterness or healing, revenge or forgiveness, isolation or family. I chose family. I chose truth. I chose to wake up every morning and build something real. I walked back inside, locked the door, turned off the lights. Tyler was already asleep upstairs. Harper was reading in her room. I stood in the hallway and listened to the quiet sounds of my home. This was my life now. Not perfect, not what I'd planned, but mine. Real, honest, built on truth. And I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Looking back at my story, I realized God had a plan, even when I couldn't see it. That box in the garage, the one I almost threw away, was God's way of showing me the truth before it was too late. And I'm grateful because the truth, no matter how painful, is always better than a beautiful lie. If you're reading this, Grandpa, stories like mine might feel distant, like something that happens to other people. But let me tell you, betrayal doesn't announce itself. It hides in plain sight. In coffee made with love, in smiles that don't reach the eyes, in a daughter who stops looking at you. So, here's my advice. Don't be like me. Don't ignore the red flags. Don't let comfort blind you to the truth. Trust, yes, but verify. Protect yourself. Protect your kids. And when God puts that box in front of you, that moment of revelation, don't look away. The lesson I learned, real family isn't built on blood or promises. It's built on truth, forgiveness, and showing up even when it's hard. I was given a second chance at family. Not the one I planned, but the one I needed. And you can have that, too. This is a true story. My true story. And I'm sharing it because maybe, just maybe, someone out there needs to hear it. Someone's drinking coffee they didn't make. Someone's ignoring the coldness in their daughter's eyes. Someone's about to find their own box. These grandpa stories aren't just for entertainment. They're warnings. They're lifelines. So, if this story touched you, if it made you think, made you check your brake lines, made you look twice at the people you trust, then do me a favor. Leave a comment below. Tell me your story. Share this video so someone else can hear the truth. And subscribe to this channel because the truth is worth spreading. God bless you, and remember, the truth will set you free. These grandpa stories are more than memories. They're lessons.